Imagine walking into a store with no intention of buying anything. You see something you like. You don't need it. You didn't plan for it. But somehow, 5 minutes later, you're holding it in your hands. And the strangest part? You don't even feel like you made a decision. It feels like the decision happened to you. You tell yourself, it's only $20. Then you buy it. A few days later, you barely remember why you wanted it. And this happens again, and again, and again. But here's the uncomfortable question. What if the reason you keep spending money isn't because you lack discipline? What if you're responding to psychological triggers that were designed to make spending feel good? Because we don't spend money based purely on logic. We spend money based on emotion. We spend when we're stressed. We spend when we're bored. We spend when we want to reward ourselves. We spend when we feel insecure. And sometimes we spend because buying something gives us a temporary feeling that something in our life is changing. Think about the last time you had a bad day. Maybe work went badly. Someone ignored your message. You felt tired, frustrated, or unappreciated. Then you opened an online shopping app. You weren't looking for anything specific. You were just browsing. And suddenly, something caught your attention. A new pair of shoes, a phone accessory, a jacket, something you didn't need. But for a moment, imagining yourself owning it felt good. And that's the first psychological trap. You're not always buying the product. Sometimes, you're buying the feeling you imagine the product will give you. The shoes aren't just shoes. They represent confidence. The new phone isn't just a phone. It represents status. The expensive coffee isn't just coffee. It represents comfort. And that changes the way you think about spending. Because when you attach an emotion to a product, your brain stops asking, "Do I need this?" and starts asking, "How will this make me feel?" That's a completely different question. And companies understand this extremely well. They don't simply sell products. They sell identities. They don't want you to think, "Do I need another pair of shoes?" They want you to imagine yourself as the person who wears them. Confident, successful, attractive, modern, respected. And once you start buying identities instead of products, your spending can become almost impossible to control. But there's another psychological trick hiding in plain sight. It's called instant gratification. Your brain loves rewards that happen immediately. You see something, you click, you buy, and you get that tiny burst of excitement. For a few minutes, you feel good. But here's the problem. The excitement disappears much faster than the payment does. You get the reward immediately, but you feel the financial consequence later. That's why impulse spending can be so powerful. The brain experiences the pleasure now, while your future self pays the bill. And this creates a dangerous pattern. Bad day. Buy something. Feel better. Feel guilty later. Promise yourself you'll stop. Have another bad day. Buy something again. And the cycle repeats. But there's something even more interesting. Sometimes people don't spend money because they want more. They spend because they want to feel less. Less stressed, less bored, less insecure, less lonely, less disappointed. Money becomes a temporary emotional escape. And that's why telling someone, "Just stop spending," often doesn't work. Because if spending is solving an emotional problem, removing spending doesn't solve the underlying problem. You have to understand what you're actually trying to escape from. Think about boredom. You're sitting at home. Nothing interesting is happening. You open your phone. You scroll. You see a product. You click. You imagine owning it. Suddenly, your brain has something exciting to focus on. You haven't bought anything yet, but you're already experiencing anticipation. And anticipation itself can become addictive. This is why online shopping can feel like entertainment. You're not just shopping. You're searching, you're discovering, you're waiting for the next interesting thing. And every new product gives your brain another tiny possibility of excitement. But there's another reason spending feels so easy today. Friction has disappeared. Decades ago, buying something required effort. You had to travel to a store, find the product, take out your wallet, pay, bring it home. Today, one tap, saved card, one-click checkout, delivered tomorrow. The easier you make spending, the less time your brain has to reconsider the decision. And that's important because sometimes the difference between an impulse purchase and a smart purchase is simply time. Give yourself 10 minutes, and suddenly the thing you desperately wanted doesn't feel so important. Give yourself 24 hours, and you may realize you never needed it. That's why one of the most powerful money habits isn't earning more, it's creating friction before spending. Delete saved payment information. Wait before buying. Remove shopping apps from your home screen. Create a separate account for spending. Make yourself pause, because you don't need more willpower if you can design your environment to require less willpower. But here's where spending becomes even more psychological. We often compare ourselves to other people. You see someone with a better car, a bigger house, a newer phone, a designer outfit, a luxury vacation, and suddenly Your own life feels smaller. You weren't unhappy 5 minutes ago, but now you are. And your brain whispers, maybe I need that too. This is social comparison. And social media has turned it into a 24-hour competition. You don't see someone's entire life. You see the best 5%, the vacation, the restaurant, the new car, the perfect outfit, the successful moment. Then you compare their highlight reel to your ordinary Tuesday, and your brain concludes, I'm falling behind, so you spend money trying to catch up. But here's the brutal truth. You can never win a competition that constantly changes the finish line. Someone will always have a newer phone, a more expensive car, a bigger house, a better vacation. And if your happiness depends on keeping up, you will always feel behind. This is why financial success isn't only about mathematics. It's psychological. You can earn more money and still feel broke, because if your lifestyle grows every time your income grows, you haven't escaped the problem. You've simply increased the size of the cage. A person making $50,000 can feel broke. A person making $100,000 can feel broke. Even someone making several $100,000 can feel broke. Not because they don't have enough, but because their definition of enough keeps moving. And that brings us to one of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself before spending money. Not, can I afford this? But, will this actually improve my life? Because technically, you might be able to afford something, but that doesn't mean it's worth the trade. Every dollar you spend is a vote. You're voting for what kind of life you want. Spend money on something that genuinely improves your health, skills, relationships, or freedom, and you're buying more than
a product. You're buying a better future. But spend money simply because you're bored, insecure, or trying to impress someone, and you may be buying a temporary emotion with a permanent price. So here's a simple experiment. The next time you want to buy something you didn't plan for, don't immediately ask whether you can afford it. Ask yourself 3 questions. Number 1, what emotion am I feeling right now? Are you bored, stressed, lonely, excited, insecure? Number 2, would I still want this tomorrow? If the answer is no, you probably don't want the product. You want the feeling. And number 3, if nobody could see that I own this, would I still buy it? That question can be brutal, because sometimes we're not buying things for ourselves. We're buying them for an audience that may not even care. And once you realize that, your spending starts to change. You become slower, more intentional, more difficult to manipulate. You stop asking, what can I buy? And start asking, what deserves my money? That's a completely different mindset, because money isn't just a number in your bank account. It's stored time. Every dollar represents a small piece of your life that you exchange for it. So when you spend $100, you're not just spending $100. You're spending the time and effort it took you to earn that $100. And when you see money that way, impulse purchases start looking different. That $20 purchase might actually represent an hour of your life. That expensive subscription might represent several hours every month. That car upgrade might represent months of additional work. Suddenly, the question isn't, can I afford it? It's, is this worth my time? And that question changes everything. The goal isn't to stop spending money. The goal is to stop spending money unconsciously. Buy things that genuinely matter to you. Enjoy your money. Treat yourself. Spend on experiences. Spend on people you love. Spend on things that make your life better. But don't let a bad mood make financial decisions for you. Don't let social media decide what enough looks like. And don't let a 5-minute emotional impulse control a decision that affects your future. Because the most financially powerful person isn't necessarily the person who earns the most. It's the person who can look at something they want and calmly say, I could buy this, but I don't need to. That moment may seem small, but psychologically, it's huge, because you're no longer being controlled by the impulse. You're controlling the impulse, and eventually, something strange happens. You realize that having more things doesn't automatically create more happiness. Sometimes, having less noise creates more peace, less comparison, less debt, less clutter, less pressure to impress, and more freedom. Because real financial freedom isn't being able to buy everything you want. It's reaching the point where you don't need to buy everything you want. So the next time you open an online store after a stressful day, pause. Before you click buy now, ask yourself, am I buying this because I need it or because I need to feel something? Because once you understand the psychology behind your spending, you stop being just a consumer. You become the person making the decision. And perhaps the greatest financial freedom isn't having enough money to buy whatever you want. It's having enough self-control to walk away from what you don't need.